Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about something that may be a little more nuanced of a topic, but I think that for certain purposes it's important for us to understand this, and that is based upon the data that I've seen over the years, my observations, our ability to add weight to the bar, in other words, progressive overload through tension, is largely a response of muscle growth. It's a sign of evidence. It is evidence that we have made a muscle bigger and stronger. It may not be the driver itself. And that's a very important distinction from a programming perspective when you're working with a lot of lifters. And for a lot of novices, this doesn't matter, but as soon as someone kind of finishes their novice phase, this becomes a very important distinction, particularly when you're working with your clients, right? Because most of your clients out there, in my case, every one of my clients has run some sort of novice program. They think like novices. Okay, they think like novices. They think in terms of my 5 rep max. When the reality is no one gives a shit about your 5 rep max. We only care about 1 rep maxes. That's how strength is measured. Nobody cares what you can do for 5 reps. If you do 400 for 5 reps, you did 400 pounds. Okay, that's it. Doesn't matter that you might actually be able to do 425 because you didn't do it. It's completely irrelevant. You did 400 pounds. Don't care if you repped it 37 times until you put 405 on the bar. You can't lift 405. So let's come over to the point though. They get hung up in these sort of mindsets. They also get hung up in the idea that they have to be continually using the heaviest weight possible, and that if they can micro load on any given set, a 5 rep set, 10 rep set, whatever it happens to be, that if they haven't added the weight, they haven't stimulated muscle growth. Okay? That's not the reality. The reality is that if they could add more weight and do it with perfect form, they have gained muscle. It's not that they're going to gain more muscle from it. In other words, let's say you're doing 200 pounds on an exercise for 5 sets of 5, right? 200 pounds for 5 sets of 5. And it's challenging. It's very, very challenging. In fact, you feel like the very last rep on your 5 sets of 5 is a little grindy, a little slow. Okay? But every rep felt challenging. It felt heavy. You probably did close to a 5 rep max with all of them. In other words, you probably got, using at least the effective rep theory, close to 25 effective reps. Maybe the first rep or two might not have been on the first set or second set. So let's assume you got at least 23 effective reps out of that exercise. Meaning reps that are within 5 reps of your 1 rep max. Okay. Does anyone really think that if they had added 2.5 pounds of microplates to that they would have stimulated more muscle growth? Like, does anyone look at that and realistically think that? Either you got effective reps or you did not. What? In other words, if we look at the evidence we have even on the effective rep theory, if you stopped 1 rep short of failure and did 5 sets versus taking 4 sets to failure with the same weight, you stimulated about the same amount of muscle growth. Now, if you stopped 1 rep short of failure, but you still had challenging reps, you got 4, in some cases maybe 5 effective reps out of every set, and you did multiple sets, didn't you stimulate muscle growth? Sure. Let's come back over the same thing with that 5x5. If you got 23 effective reps with that weight, with the 200 pounds, you probably stimulated very significant amounts of muscle growth. It doesn't matter that that's the same weight you had done a week before. Okay, let's say you take 200 pounds and do a 5x5 with it on an exercise, and it's very challenging. In other words, that weight is possibly your 6 rep max, maybe very close to your 5 rep max. You do 5 full sets with it like that. It's a lot of tension. It's a lot of stimulation. Right? Under all the data that we have, did you produce probably a significant amount of hypertrophy? You bet you did. And you could also come behind it and hit the smaller muscles or some of the weak links in it with some other volume work, which is what I usually have clients do if they're doing something like that as a late novice, early intermediate. That's what we do. If you had put 205 on the bar, particularly, let's say you got to the very last one and you only got 4 reps and it was grindy, right? You did a 5x4, but you maybe racked it after the 4th rep because the 4th one felt grindy on the very last set. Did you get any extra effective reps out of it? No. Did you stimulate any additional muscle growth with that extra 5 pounds? No, you probably didn't. You probably didn't. So did you get any better stimulation? No, because the 200 pounds, it doesn't matter that you've done it a couple workouts in a row already. Is it challenging? Is it recruiting the upper threshold muscle fibers, right? And it would be. Maybe not the first rep on the first set. Maybe not the first rep on the second set. But by that third set, that's absolutely hitting all of them, right? All 5 reps. Okay. Does it matter that you put the extra 5 pounds on? No. It didn't benefit you. Either you did a challenging workout with enough effective reps hitting the upper threshold fibers in a muscle, or you did not. Either you did or you didn't. That seems to be what determines adaptations that cause hypertrophy. How many effective reps did the muscle fibers get? Okay. If you're able to successfully add the 5 pounds and get all 5x5 without grinding the last one, right, while maintaining good form, the same range of motion, that's not stimulating more muscle growth. That's evidence that you gained enough muscle to do it. Okay. Progressive tension doesn't seem to be, from what I can tell, the actual driver of hypertrophy. It's evidence of hypertrophy. It's proof that the workouts you did before made you grow. Therefore, you can lift more weight. Now, 1 rep maxes are a little different because there's a larger neural component. So there can be other factors that determine did you add 10 pounds to your 1 rep max or not. But if you're dealing with something like a 5x5, a 3x10, a 5x10, if you were able to add 5 pounds to that and have it feel the same and move the same speed for the same number of reps and sets several times, like over the course of time, that is evidence that you got bigger. And when I get a lifter who's like, well, it's not going up, and it's like, well, it's not going up because you're not eating enough. It's not going up because you're not in a position to make the muscles grow. In other words, if the rest of your lifestyle, your food, your rest, everything else isn't conducive to gaining muscle at an appropriate rate to add weight to the bar at the rate that you want to add it, you can't expect it to happen. Because the adding the extra weight isn't what's making you grow. The ability to add the extra weight, let's rephrase that, the requirement of adding the extra weight because the weight's getting too light and we're no longer getting enough challenging, effective reps with it for that rep and set scheme. The requirement to add more weight then comes down to, is your lifestyle conducive to gaining the muscle? Are you gaining muscle fast enough to do so? Okay. I mean, it would be the same thing if we did nothing but sets to failure. That would really tell you a lot, wouldn't it? Because if you're not consistently gaining reps when you're taking sets to failure with the same weight, you know you aren't eating and sleeping enough to gain muscle. Of course, then we have to deal with the negative end of that. That's where you see that your progress isn't happening, and that can also really cause you problems, in addition to the fact that training to failure all the time has its own set of downsides, right? Its own risk of injury, its own risk of burnout. You got to be careful with how you go about doing that. But you start training in that manner, you damn well better have your lifestyle on point. You better not be in a calorie deficit. You better not be at maintenance calories at 10% body fat or something crazy like that. Not going to work. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.